Hey guys, what is up? I had, over the course of probably the last week or so, a number of invasions slash fights that I thought were a lot of fun, and I thought it would be cool to do kind of a quick video and try to showcase them. Here you'll see me on my soul level 22 build, which incidentally is probably under leveled. I should probably be closer to maybe soul level 25 or 26, and really even depending on how strategic you want to be, it may make sense to have a couple different builds that are targeted towards Crucifixion Woods, because you can have one like this guy that's primarily targeted at normal players, and then you may choose to have a second or even a third build that's targeted towards the gankers, just because they tend to come in at higher soul levels. But right now I'm really worried about getting parried by this guy. He's hanging out here looking for fights. He's got the dreaded combination of the one-handed greatsword and a parry shield. That Dark Souls guy refers to a certain class of players. He calls them 50-50 players. And what he means is essentially every time you approach, there's a 50% chance that they're going to swing and a 50% chance that they're going to parry. Now, this guy isn't that bad. He actually doesn't parry all that much, but I don't know that yet. And so I'm approaching him very cautiously. And especially in the last couple of months, I've really learned two strategies for dealing with players who either parry spam or I worry may be parry spammers. And one of them you can see I'm utilizing right now, and it's a spear. And one of the reasons a spear really helps, because when you use a straight sword, you can't attack them unless you're up very close. And being very close to the other player is risky for you because you can get hit. And so it tends to make the reads on your opponent just a little bit easier to figure out when they can go for parries, and they can spam a lot more profitably in those sorts of situations. So a spear helps a lot. And the other thing I've been messing around with quite a bit is using a high stability shield like the Lothric Knight shield. And you can see here the guy realized he's losing, and so now the duel gets abandoned. It was a pretense anyway. He figures if he goes and pretends like it's a duel, maybe he's able to beat me without me using any Estus. But then worst case, if he's losing, then he can just go ahead and heal up and reset the fight. And the problem now is I'm realizing that this guy may have 8 to 10 Estus, or even worst case, if he's a New Game Plus, he may well have 15. And there, that charged R2 was not designed to roll catch. It was designed to see if he tried to take a whack at it with his parry shield. And I'm finally able to put him away. And thank God, because otherwise it would have become a battle of attrition, and he certainly would have won a battle of attrition. So I left this fight in probably more for laughs than any other reason. I'm not really sure what this guy was all about. So you'll see here in the very beginning of the fight here, he just starts running around the perimeter. He starts running around the perimeter of the arena. And I've seen players do this to me sometimes, and I think a lot of times what they're doing is they're actually mocking what they think I'm doing when there's 3 or 4 of them and they're fighting me. But actually, I don't do that. I don't run around. I walk around and I'm constantly moving, but I don't run. But I don't think I've fought this guy before, so I don't think that's what he's doing. So he's obviously, it looks like he's got Dark Blade that he's using on his, I think it's Cell Sword Twin Blades. And of course, anytime I find a buff on the Cell Swords, I'm always going to try to strip that off. It's too dangerous, especially when I can't heal and he can. The risk of trading or screwing up somehow is just too high. So I've got to get that buff stripped away. And this is a lot of times the reason I'll use a spear, just so I minimize the risk of trading with the other player. And you can see this guy is immediately going to reapply his buff. So I'm thinking about this, and I've got this in the back of my mind, where if I manage to strip his buff again, I'm going to see if I can't punish it a bit harder. You can see there, he went for like 4 L1s in a row, even though I was nowhere near him. And there I see him switch to his Catalyst. I unlock so I can more quickly get around to his back, and I'm able to punish it. Man, I love when they try to Estus when they've been hit with an Undead Hunter Charm. It just leaves their back wide open. So in this clip, I actually ran into a good watchdog, and that is such a rare occurrence. I wanted to make sure I showcased it. These crabs here can be such an ass pain, and I swear sometimes when a player is running away and these crabs are trying to hit the player, they're obviously, or the host, they're not trying to hit you. It's sometimes actually they can hit you more often than they will hit the other player just because of the way that they try to target the other player. I've been killed by those crabs more often than I'd care to admit. But I ran into a good watchdog, and I wanted to showcase. I want to show something that he did. So you got a player that's using running attacks from a spear in combination with an ultra greatsword, which is just really a bad combination for me. But fortunately, this other watchdog comes in. I don't know if he's a great PvP player, but he did something that was really smart, and I want to show it here in just a moment. And that was smart, the rolling attack to get me off, but I expected him to do it another time, and so I was able to punish it with a backstab. You'll see here the watchdog does a really good job. First of all, he's able to backstab the host and get him off of my ass. And there I stopped charging that R2 because I didn't want to inadvertently hit the watchdog. But you can see he's doing a good job of hanging back and frankly not getting in my way and respecting my space and making sure that we're not going to hit each other, which is extremely rare for watchdogs here. Nice job, watchdog. That was awesome. So I was invading in the archives, and obviously I get invaded here, and right away I can see this guy's got a ton of poise, and he's got probably the Hollow Slayer. And this is a build that, frankly, I have a lot of trouble with sometimes. And the Charged R2 was a very stupid attempt to space, and I should not have done that. And frankly, even the Greatsword here is a bad choice on my part because this guy's got a ton more poise than I do. And I don't know, he may actually be able to poise through my Greatsword R1s. I'm a little wary of the roll catching here because if he just swings instead, again, I may end up losing that trade very badly. And again, the parry tool out, I definitely don't want to roll catch too aggressively. But I make a couple mistakes in this fight. The first one was obviously that R2 in there. I didn't have nearly enough space for that backstab. I wasn't close enough to his back to go for that. And so that was very foolish for me. I should not have attempted that. And then another mistake that I'm making here is I should really be trying to heal. Now he's pressuring me, but I still have enough room to heal. But now I'm in big trouble. And there I heal knowing I'm probably going to get punished. I roll too early, and here I'm in enormous trouble. But I'm assuming because he's being so aggressive, he's going to try to hit me with another running attack to catch me before I can heal. So I decide to make a big gamble, and I'm able to parry him. And now here, I have to make another decision. What do I do? Do I R1? Is he going to parry? Do I try an R2? Do I try to roll out and heal? And at the end of the day, I decide to just go for 2 R1s, and that's the safest thing to do. And as long as you time those properly, they can't parry them, but it's admittedly some very difficult timing. So obviously here, I went after the Phantom hoping to grab him while his attention was diverted, but he went into the backstab animation before I could get to him. And now with both the Lothric Knights dead, I'm very exposed, so obviously I need to get out of that room. Sometimes after I've been either playing at low levels or if I've been doing Spear of the Church fights, it can be a bit of an adjustment coming back to soul level 90. The damage is just so intense at this level. Mistakes just get punished so much harder. So I'm kind of trying to bait these guys around and see if I can pull them into areas with the PvE, but they don't seem to be buying it. You can tell these guys have been playing for a while. I don't know if the guy here is trying to hide to ambush me or what. Here's exactly how roll catching can go awry. Look at that. Just nuked me for so much of my health. He almost killed me right there, but that's why you've got to be so careful roll catching people with hyper armor weapons. I probably should have stopped trying to roll catch him after the first roll catch, because he was good enough that he cottoned on to what I was doing and was able to punish me. And unfortunately here, because of the ring setup that I'm using, which I don't actually remember what it was, but I remember I did not have the Hornet ring on. And I think I was playing around with it because so much of the damage that I'm doing is magic damage anyway. It just seems like the Hornet ring doesn't add quite as much. And to be honest, I don't know exactly what the Hornet ring does with physical versus elemental damage. Here I'm actually in a really good position because these guys can't retreat from where they are. They can only push forward. Fortunately, the PvE handled the Phantom for me, and I'm able to put the host away pretty easily myself. So I really enjoyed this fight. I am not very good against the Farron Greatsword, especially if the other player knows what they're doing. And it's obviously the majority of time you face off against a Farron Greatsword user, they're very poor. But this guy really understood the mix-up value of this weapon. In fact, fighting this player actually reminded me very much of my fight against Schwa Akari. The first time I fought Schwa, she was using this weapon, and she absolutely dismantled me with it. So I'm being very careful here, and I'm frankly playing pretty passively, but the hyper armor on this weapon and just the overall damage potential is really terrifying. So I've got to play very cautiously. Those L1s, I mean, I know it's been said by others many times before, but that dagger and the sword hitbox can make it very difficult to roll out safely when you see that attack coming. And unfortunately there, I was on the side of his hitbox, or I would have gotten that backstab. And he used that brilliantly, that third L1. I really did not see that coming, and his timing completely threw me off, and he was able to roll catch me as a consequence. And there I hit into the hyper armor I was so nervous about hitting into. So I'm in some big trouble here, but I decide I'm going to switch over to my spear, because that way I can stand outside his ability to hit me and get some damage in myself. And it performs brilliantly. That was a great fight. I really enjoyed that. GG, man. That was awesome. So this last fight I left in to illustrate something that I call counter baits. So the idea is that when a player baits you into doing something, if you look like you're buying into the bait, they'll believe that their bait is working. And in fact, you can actually bait them to bait you. And I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. So he switched to the parry shield. I know he wants a parry. So what I'm going to do is time my run up so that I get to him right as he's done with his Estus, which is going to make it look to him as if he's got the perfect timing for a parry. Of course, it doesn't work out that way. I'm able to roll up behind him and get the roll backstab. Or I'm sorry, the run backstab. I get players like this all the time. Well, thanks guys. Thanks for checking in. Take care now.